Let's speak to Shoaib Khan, human rights lawyer. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Strong stuff from the American president. And, of course, you know, we can talk about hyperbole and exaggeration and we can write off the Sharia law bit. We understand that. But he's the American president. So when he speaks, it kind of matters, even if we don't like what he says, even if we like whatever our position. It's significant. But he did make a point that I'm hearing lots of people agree with, for different reasons, perhaps. But immigration into Europe as a continent, including this country, is out of control. Does that sound to you like an accurate statement, or is that another exaggeration?
Obviously, it is an exaggeration. Depends what you mean by out of control. Are we saying the numbers are too big, or are we saying we've lost control of the people who come in and out? Because if the latter, then that's clearly our failure rather than the people doing it. And if the former, then, I mean, I don't necessarily think that's true anyway. I mean, also, it's not about Europe, but particularly the UK in particular. We take on, in fact, a very, very small proportion of people as compared to our size, as compared to our status in the world. So even our European partners take on many, many more people. And I know, again, he was obviously focusing on Europe, but we're talking about refugees, we're talking about other people who move around. It is always in neighboring countries they go to. So Turkey, Pakistan, other countries take in millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of refugees. So it's a very small number that get to Europe, and even much, much smaller that actually get to the UK.
It's still a big number, though, isn't it? I mean, we are talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that come to this country, legal or illegal, on an annual basis.
Yes, but I mean, I don't see what the issue there is. I mean, like you said, especially if we're considering the legal and the illegal, it's our government to open up those routes, and some of them have
but Trump's point is very simple. Why do we need that? We don't need that. There's no need for that. I mean, we don't need it in terms of filling jobs. We don't need it in terms of, I'm talking about low-skilled jobs here. We don't need it in terms of the channel migration. I mean, there's no benefit to us.
No, I mean, of course it is. I mean, if we didn't need it, then, I mean, regardless of what, you know, Nigel Farage is saying, Donald Trump, other people who basically have no idea about how the world works, it seems. But the point is, obviously it was needed. Otherwise, you know, we're talking about the Boris way. Why would that happen? Do we think, you know, Boris Johnson was some, you know, raving, loony liberal who just wants to see people travelling and coming to the UK?
Well, yeah, he kind of was. He was all of those things, really.
He thought the UK just wasn't white enough, and so let's import some people. No. He saw after COVID, during COVID, before that, what was happening? We don't have a labour force. We need a workforce. We need more people. We need young people.
But we've got young people, but they're not working. I mean, I understand there is an issue with, you know, we've got lots of young people who are not working and we've got lots of vacancies. But the idea that we need to bring in a Deliveroo driver from Eritrea is flipping nonsense. You must see that as a lawyer.
No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, you're giving that, you know, quite flippant example, but the NHS, just the one thing that we all use, and a huge infrastructure, one of probably the biggest employers in the country, I think that would absolutely collapse.
I agree. And I think most people understand that, but it's not, we're not really talking about, when we talk about kind of, and Trump talked about cultural changes, we might come on to that, but certainly just in terms of numbers, you know, yes, of course, we've always needed, and in my lifetime and your lifetime, we've never known a country that didn't have a mix of people. I've never known an NHS that didn't have a Nigerian doctor or a Pakistani surgeon, etc. That's how it's always been. And that's fine. I don't think anybody struggles with that. I think what people struggle with is why Boris Johnson brought in people where the criteria was £20,000 a year to come here and bring your partner with you, who has to have no skills whatsoever. That's not a system, that's a crime scene.
No, but that wasn't the case. I don't know which people you're talking about. Who have you seen a single person who did that? I mean, who are these people who earning 20,000 and had no skills? Obviously, for each application you make, this system you brought in, work permit, tier 2, whatever the particular immigration category, there are very, very high rules. You have to prove you're qualified, and a British company or employer has to prove that they need this particular person, and they've not been able to find someone with those skills in the UK. So, I mean, I just don't understand. Obviously, it is our companies, our firms, if not the government, that are actually taking on these people. So I just don't understand what the problem is. Are we genuinely saying that we have lots of people with similar skills in the country who are unemployed? They really, really want to work, but somehow they go for a job, and some, you know, non-white people are being prioritized, and therefore all the white people who are skilled are left jobless.
I don't think
it's happening around us.
Yeah, I mean, I I agree. This is a dilemma, and it's a problem that nobody seems to have solved, particularly when you've got a million under 30s who are not in any kind of meaningful work or education, whatever the figure is, it seems to move, who should be doing some of those jobs. But we clearly had a situation where Boris Johnson, if the criteria was 20,400 quid, that's not a skilled worker, right, in the economic sense of the word.
Well, it depends. I mean, some very, very skilled workers. I mean,
might be admirable.
Teachers, nurses, carers, very, very skilled, but that's unfortunately what they earn. I think for many of us, it's unbelievable that's what they earn. But I
don't think many teachers earn 20,000. I think most.
Sorry?
I don't think many teachers earn 20,000.
Many trainee teachers do. I think that is the going.
A trainee teacher, you might do. Yeah, I agree. Well,
yeah,
I don't know whether
teacher.
Were we short of teachers?
And many nurses, carers, people work. And again, there was a huge scandal a few months ago about all these low-paid, low-skilled people working in care homes. So again, are there many British people who actually want to go look after the elderly, clean up people sick? For 20,000 a year, 18,000 a year, and they just can't do it. They can't find the jobs. I just don't think that's true. I think we knew after COVID we needed these people, and the government did what was right. And the point is, this, speeches like this, they create hatred, they create division, they're inflammatory. They're pointless.
I agree.
What was the point he was trying to make?
I agree. You're absolutely right. They can create division, but we should be able to have a conversation like you and I are having, where it's not about hatred, it's not about the colour of somebody's skin, it's just about numbers. There is a cultural assimilation issue that is worth debating. I think we all recognise that, whether it's Brits going elsewhere or people coming here. I get that as well. I think the sheer numbers, and you're right, I think you've identified where this really happened with Boris, and when we're talking about care homes, aren't we? And it was the huge wave of people that came over because we had a chronic vacancy problem with filling jobs, particularly in care homes. It was that area.
Of course. I mean, like you mentioned as well, there is people and they bring their families, but why shouldn't they? So again, I want these people to come over and look after my elderly parents and the people, someone's disabled, someone's ill, the people, my family members I don't want to look after. I'll pay them to do it and pay them, like you even said, that seems like a terribly low salary we pay them if that's the work they're doing. But we want them to leave their spouses and their children behind. I just don't understand that. Why not bring your family, you're earning, pay taxes, look after our elderly and disabled, and stay with your family as well? So I just don't see why they demonize, you're coming over here to work, look after my family, but yeah, leave your family behind. I just don't understand that mindset.
Shoaib, thank you, sir. Shoaib Khan, human rights lawyer. He does hit on a point there that is, I'm stuck on this one. Help me out. OK, so we've got vacancies in care homes. We've got 100,000. In fact, I think there was a point we had 300,000 vacancies in the NHS and the wider issue of care. It was crazy. So that, I imagine, was what Boris Johnson was trying to fill. Now, of course, the short answer is we don't need all of those people. We've got loads of people who can do the jobs here. How do you make those people work in a care home? That's the dilemma. Do governments secretly know that no matter what you do, you'll never get those people to work in jobs they don't want to work in? It'll never happen. So the only thing you could then do is stop people's benefits and say, right, you'll get no benefits until you get a job in a care home. Do you want somebody working in a care home who was forced to work in a care home? I don't get the answer to that either. Cultural assimilation we can talk about throughout the show as well, because that's another issue. He talked culturally. Destroying economies and cultures, Trump said yesterday. 0344 499 1000. Danny in Wolverhampton says, Trump is awesome. If only we had him over here, he would sort this country out in days. Love the show, Ian and team. Even my kids use phrases like when I'm telling them off about anything, they tell me to get in the bin. If I ask how they are, they always say good as gold. Love it. Danny, thank you, mate, for that. Nice text and message. One in from Neil, who says, it's a good theory, Donica. When the country is covered in solar farms and windmills, we may have cheaper electricity, but with all the farms gone, we'll have nothing to cook. Fair point too. Neil, thank you very much indeed for that.